Yeah. Can we keep them another 6 months?
No, Jason, we're up.
Oh, we are. Thank you. Okay, gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. If I could ask everybody to please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call please.
Chris Buckman.
Here.
Brandon Earl.
Here.
Andrea Kreifel.
Here.
Jason Newberry.
Here.
Deanna Garver.
Here.
Tom Henning.
Here.
Pat Zika.
Next thing is the adoption of the agenda.
I'll make the motion that we adopt the agenda presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay. Recognition of patrons and staff. Adam, have anybody sign up to talk?
Nobody this evening.
Okay. Moving on to our first discussion item, KLEY radio contract.
Yes, last month, KLEY did a presentation to the board regarding wanting to work with Crusader Radio and also broadcast Crusader Sports. The board then asked for some language to be presented, and so they put together a partnership that is in your packet for you to review and see if you are interested in moving forward with that. It's still in discussion because this is the first meeting that you are seeing that. However, obviously before our next meeting, unless you want to tack it on the special meeting that we could talk about later in the evening, then we would have our first football game, which I'm sure they would want to broadcast before our next actual September board meeting is scheduled. So just want to let you know that timing wise, and so that is up for discussion this evening.
Any thoughts on that?
I think our biggest question that we've talked about was allowing students, that was just
I would
the only
agree.
concern we had, and I think that was kind of answered.
Yeah, I talked to Ellie and Ryan about that, and they read the contract as well and felt pretty good that we would be trying to move that forward with students, and that if we got any pushback on that, that we would push back ourselves. So, but there's been no indication that that's going to happen. They have Ryan specifically, since this is a 1-year partnership in the contract, or partnership, I don't know if you call it a contract officially, but they call it a partnership. They specifically mention Ryan, and I know Ryan is planning to advocate for students, so that's how it's kind of lined out in there.
And I don't disagree with any of that. I just don't know that personally, I don't know that it affords the protection to the student side of it the way that I would like to see it. The one thing that we mentioned was the play-by-play by the students. And all it says is that the audio and video streaming handled by Wellington High School under Ryan Jenkins' direction.
So
That's-
Ryan's still
that's
gonna do
pretty
his
vague.
thing,
Huh?
that, I just.
Ryan's doing his thing, but they also talked about using Ryan and Shane basically as their employees. I don't know that they ever use those terms, but that's kind of what they talked about. But the student piece of it, I don't know is spelled out well enough for my liking. But
What if you put in on number 4, Jason, where it says all play-by-play, put the Wellington High School students? See that?
Yeah.
Would that be something you want to put in there?
that would be an option. I mean, I just want to see that the student piece that Ryan has worked very hard to get that up and going. I want to make sure that we keep the student piece there.
We agree.
And like I said, I listen to streaming radio anyways. It doesn't really affect me that much. Any other thoughts, discussion?
I know our expectation would be exactly that, so. I can obviously ask them to change, or go back to change language and bring it back to you if that's what the board would.
I think most of the play-by-play was done by Ryan, just occasionally gets to chime in. The middle school was mostly done by students, but I don't know so much that was through Ryan, was it? That was
Yeah, and I don't
kind
think
of
I've talked about middle school sports
Yeah,
in this, so.
middle school kids just kind of did that on their own, I think, after Ryan left the middle school.
Also, this afternoon, I received that sponsorship paper they're planning on using that I wanted to get in front of you. I just got that this afternoon, so I apologize for getting that late.
Any other thoughts, discussion on that?
I feel comfortable with it, the way it says, will be streaming handled by Wellington High School under Ryan Jenkins' direction. And if we've directed Ryan that that's what we want, I feel like he would do that. I feel like it's acceptable.
If we have issues come up this year, then we'll obviously have to re-tackle this again.
So do you want to go ahead and motion or just wait till next month?
It's up to you. I mean, is there any other discussion on it, or? If not, then, yeah, we can do a motion on it tonight, or we can wait till next meeting.
There was a time crunch on this, correct? A little bit. It was
September 1st is the first
Yeah.
football
Yeah,
game,
so-
so.
I make a motion that we partnership with Kelly Wide in the high school. That work? On the radio,
That should
800
work, yeah.
station.
Contract with KLEY to present.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. That'd be me. Aye. Okay, moving on. Crusader bus.
Yes, this has been on and off the agenda over the years, but we finally have some headway on it. The Crusader Club for quite a while now has been interested in having a wrapped activity bus. And so we kind of went about that privately originally, and then for the last, specifically Colby, Zika, and I have been working with Durham School Services, who is our transportation contractor, to try to find a bus in their fleet that would work for this. That way it is under their control, their service, their maintenance, all those things. And so we were able to get that. We had one optional available that would replace a current bus that's in our contract. Because it's a bigger bus, it would be about $174 extra a month for our contract. But that is not crazy money in the transportation world, so. And then the Crusader Club would actually pay for the entire wrap of the bus. So essentially, we're just replacing a smaller bus with a bigger bus that's already on our contract, paying a little bit extra, and Crusader Club would wrap it, and so it would be out and about. The bus that is here is it's about 84 passenger, flat nose bus, and they're gonna take it in and get a little body work done on it. But it has underbelly storage and air conditioning, so kind of trying to head down that road. So this has been something that's talked about for a while.
Thoughts, discussion? Concerns?
Is
I
that,
like it.
Yeah,
Sounds fine to me.
and remember, when you say 84 passenger, that's busing terms. When you get large football players in an 84 passenger bus, it's not 84 people, just.
And the band could use it, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
just
same
for
thing,
sports,
yeah,
right?
you get high school, the bigger the kid, the bigger.
So the under storage would be helpful.
Yes, yeah, it is underbelly all the way through.
the 174 a month, is that a year contract or? is that
Yeah, well, you
school
can pay it
year?
in 10 months or 12 months, they give you an option,
Okay.
but yeah,
Yeah,
that's a 12-month price.
Gotcha.
So that's just additional on our contract. We're currently paying $5,205, I think is what it is for a regular route bus goes around, and so this would take the place of that. It's just more expensive because it's a bigger bus. So ends up being 174 more a month times 12 is what it would be.
Would this be used for normal day-to-day stuff or
This
just
would
for
be
the games?
activities.
Okay,
This
yeah.
would be activities, okay.
So Pat, you mentioned, band and everything else could use it. Is there, I think we try to not have scheduling conflicts. I'm sure occasionally that happens.
Yep.
So what's gonna be the method of figuring out who gets the razzle dazzle band versus the?
Honestly, it'll be up to Durham to make the
Okay.
best decision. I don't think we would get crazy involved in that. Ellie may.
My
She may
first
hit Ellie up.
Yeah, my first initial thought it would go with the most participants going to an event. Like if you had, for some odd reason, football and volleyball on the
Numbers,
same day, they would take football first because you have more kids. That doesn't really happen a whole lot at the high school and level, cause some take vans, some take one bus, or some have less. So my initial thought they would go with the most participants, but I don't know that answer either.
Yeah.
My first initial thought it would go with the most participants, but I don't know that answer either.
Yeah. And different districts, when you're out at events, have different routes they've taken with this. Some have actually gone out and bought charter buses. Most of those, I believe, have their own transportation system and don't have a service contract. Since we have a service contract, we felt like this would be best, so that it was part of getting service and maintenance and all those things instead of us being responsible for that separately.
If we pulled the trigger on this, how fast could we have the bus?
I honestly, I don't know the answer to that, because I don't know how long it'll take them to do the wrap and all that, but the sooner the better, obviously, we put it in motion, so. But they would pay for the full wrap, and then we would just add it to the contract, is what we're doing.
And there's no issue with, I think the last one, there was a certification issue or anything like.
Yeah, no, it
This
was,
one's
because it's
good.
part of Durham, that's
Sure.
another thing, it would pass inspection with the highway patrol and all those things it has to go through, so that's what's nice about the Durham way as well, so.
I'll make a motion to accept the donation from the Crusader Club and to renegotiate the contract with Durham on the bigger bus.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay,
Thank you very much.
next item, secondary school handbook.
Yes, last month, the board approved handbooks across the board. After that, some conversation came up about the secondary school handbooks. And so I believe Mr. Meyer is here to speak with you about that this evening.
Good
And
evening,
Mrs. Smith.
and Mrs. Smith is here with me as well. So thank you for allowing us the time to speak to you tonight. So after last month's meeting, and there were some changes to the handbooks, just some concerns came to mind. And so I sent a letter to the board just expressing some of those concerns, and just wanted to kind of reiterate some of the concerns that we had about having backpacks in the school. So a lot of the discussion was, first of all, what's the need for the backpacks? And just at this time, we don't feel they have complete access to their lockers throughout the day. And there weren't really a lot of items that the students are expected to carry. They have a Chromebook, some workbooks, and then hopefully a reading book. But we just didn't see the huge need for it. And there are some other hazards that present themselves. For one, classrooms full of backpacks. We just felt like that might create more of a hazard, especially if we're in a situation where we have to exit the classroom in a hurry, that might cause some issues both for staff and for students. Also causing additional congestion. If you have that many backpacks traveling the hallways, it can just add to that congestion. But also the safety concern. It allows more concealing of different things, whether it be vaping devices that we've seen, or it could be maybe a weapon. We just feel that backpacks might cause more of those issues to be prevalent, and so that was one of our big concerns. And I talked to Mrs. Kreifels and a few other people too, and Mrs. Kreifels brought up a great point about not wanting to maybe treat our students as if they're criminals first, which I enjoyed the conversation. And we really want to get away from that. That's not the point, but at the same time, the safety of all of our students is a big issue. And if you look around, a lot of the things that we do in our society, we have those safeguards. Just to get into our schools, you have to buzz in. You go to an airport and everybody's screened. So in a way, we do treat a lot of people as if guilty before they may be. So again, the idea is not to treat our students that way, but just the first thought that came to mind when we thought about allowing backpacks traveling to schools was, oh my gosh, it's gonna increase we're gonna have to be more aware. And so, again, the safety part of it was one of our big concerns. And we're not saying, hey, they can't bring their things to school in a backpack. But again, if they check them into their lockers when they first get there, and they can have them when they exit the school, so they're still allowed to bring them to the school. It's just the thought of them traveling through the school with those backpacks during the day. And I know there's some other concerns that were addressed that night, and so Mrs. Dina Smith's gonna go over a few of those concerns.
Yeah, so I know that some of the concerns that were brought up were about our female students and having them have access to any supplies that they might need. This little packet I have here is something that came out of a project that my own daughter did at her school, where she put together little travel items for the female students as they needed. So her and I put together several of these, I don't know, like 50 or so I have in my classroom. All the teachers know that if any of the female students need anything, they're welcome to come to my room and I can provide those. But it's a small little kind of pocket purse, I would say, that you could take and not be so everyone's attention on you if you're taking your backpack out to use the restroom. So this was just kind of something that I talked to Mr. Meyer about, and we have those available to our students as needed. So to kind of take off the pressure of having to have their backpacks or a purse or something like that.
And we've also talked about having a coordinating teacher in each grade, rather than always going to Mrs. Smith for that, so. Again, those are just some concerns and points that we wanted to bring to light. I think we're open for questions.
Thoughts, discussion?
I think it's worth trying, letting them have their backpacks, and if it doesn't work out, we can always change. I mean, it was done for years and years and years and years and years, and I know the kids are excited about it. Something positive for them for a change, and they have 3 minutes in between classes, and my understanding is they can only ask to leave the classroom 3 times a week, maybe it was 4. Is that correct?
Well, they have hall passes.
But
So
they
they
can
have-
only go 3 times or 4.
We have 3 to 4 exceptions outside of their passing period.
Who keeps track of that? I'm just curious. Who keeps track?
We have hall passes, so they
Right.
get them signed
Yes.
when they leave class, so.
So, I don't know.
We're trying to keep them in the classroom, that's the big
I
thing.
get
So
that.
we've had a lot of, with absences and tardies, we just feel like we're losing a lot of academic time with that. So I guess my point is, I don't see where the positives outweigh the negatives. It just seems like there's a lot more concerning points than to having them carry their backpacks.
I'd like to say this. It kind of hit me today. We hired you for come in your ideas, and then as soon as you have an idea, we're like, nope, we don't like that. And that's kind of, I don't know if I really like that. I'm kind of the opposite of Pat. I want to maybe let you try no backpacks, and if it becomes a problem, then we'll go back to backpacks. But shooting down your ideas, that's kind of counter. It's not.
Well, and we didn't have
They haven't had
backpack,
backpacks, have they, for a long time?
We
Just
haven't
did
had-
during COVID. During COVID.
during
they-
COVID we
Yeah.
did, but last year we didn't have
So-
backpacks and
And before that.
I felt like it went very well. In fact, I don't even recall any complaints to the matter of being against it. So again, just weighing the negatives to the positives, again, that's kind of.
And I will say that some of the concerns that were brought up about safety, about the clutter of the backpacks, we saw that during COVID. When the kids couldn't have access to their lockers, they had to carry their backpacks with them. It was, you get 20 kids in a classroom and they all have their backpacks, and there's not always places on their chairs or whatever to put them or underneath, so we're tripping over them, and it did become a problem. And they're bringing in all kinds of snacks and energy drinks and passing them out to friends, and it got to be another thing on the teacher's plate to have to police.
I thought our conversation was that we wouldn't allow backpacks at the middle school, but we would allow them at the high school.
I think somewhere it got thrown in, because we were just talking about the high school, and then somehow the middle school got thrown in, and then it just got done.
Well, and I spoke with Bob too, and we had a conversation about that, and he brought up what she was showing there. The only other good thing about the middle school is they're all in their pods, and they're not really traveling around the school, the whole school, they're all in, and that was a good conversation. I appreciate you stepping in and talking about that, because it did open my eyes on that also, so.
Well, and additionally, like, if it's working and it's for the benefit, I say keep going with it. And last year, again, I think it was very successful. Anyway, it was working, so to change it, anyway.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
with Mr. Nance.
Uh-huh.
So last year you did not have backpacks.
No, we did,
You did, okay.
Yeah. and they carried them everywhere, and, the recommendation for no backpacks at the high school came from our SRO.
Okay,
We have all the lockers, that the students can use. They need to bring a Chromebook, and they have some consumables that they carry. And what we've done this year, instead of having students in, subject levels all over the building, we've rearranged that so they're in grade levels. And they have 5 minutes between classes instead of 3. So they have plentiful amount of time to go to their class and to their locker and back to their class during every passing period instead of carrying their backpacks. So that was our recommendation, and I have some research that shows Winfield doesn't allow them. Mulvane requires them to put them in their locker. It's a strong recommendation, and Rosedale has the same way.
so I kind of swing with Tom on this one where you're recommending the same thing, because it didn't work for you last year. And
Any other thoughts, discussion?
And I'm assuming, and I know it could be abused quickly, but if they really needed something from the locker, they could go get it. If it was like, it's in my locker, I forgot it, and you have to have it for class.
Yes, and with even some of our consumables, some of them are thick enough that they may even be allowed just to keep them in the classroom.
Okay.
And not take them home, but most of the time our students aren't traveling. It's not like the days of the old textbooks, I won't get into that, show my age, but where they were carrying so much around. That's why we're not sure we really see the need at the middle school. We've had a Chromebook, like I said, like to see them have a reading book and maybe a workbook or two, something they could theoretically take with them the whole day. But they do have access to their lockers, so. Okay,
Could a girl carry her purse every day?
we would prefer not the purses or the backpacks. Again, that's why we went this direction, which
So
has,
that to me, I'm sorry, is a big red banner that says, hey, I'm on my period.
but they can keep it in their locker, so if they ask to go.
It still is. I'm sorry, I just.
No, I don't disagree with you. Trying to be as discreet as possible,
Right.
carrying a backpack to the restroom, I don't think is any less discreet, but again, it seems to work. It's worked really well. It worked last year. I don't know exactly when that was started. I think it's been a few years.
Since I've been at the middle school, so about 5 years we've been doing that. And not all the girls use them, some keep things in their Chromebook cases if they need to, so they don't have to take it first. They all have PE every day, so they have access to their PE lockers where they keep things, there's restrooms down there as well, so.
I'm not saying it's a perfect answer or a perfect solution. My thing is, I would just like to see if it's working, let us keep working on that. And, if we have to, change something here and there, fine, but if it's working, why change it?
Any other thoughts? It is just a discussion item, but we're also starting school tomorrow, so we need a little direction.
I'm fine with backpacks in the locker, but I would really appreciate a purse.
The only problem I have with that is that now we have to define a purse.
That's what I was
Because
gonna
it's
say,
just
'cause
like carry-on baggage has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
And that's what we get into, because we've had girls carrying purses and stuff before, and it just,
Well, and some of them, this is the same size as a pencil bag, and a lot of them carry a pencil bag with their markers and pencils and highlighters or whatever they need, and so it's.
Okay.
Most of them don't, like, if you asked most of the kids, they wouldn't be able to tell you what's inside, it's a pencil bag, if it's whatever it is, so.
they can either keep it in their locker or if it's right behind their Chromebooks, so.
Do they get to keep those bags?
Yes,
And for that matter, you can put them in your pocket too,
we,
so.
And just to interrupt, at the high school, our leadership classes made a station in every bathroom for personal care, hygiene products, deodorant, those things, and they're collected from the community, and so they're there. Just pick them up.
you.
Thank you.
So do we need to modify that back? Wait, let's.
Kinda late in the game here. Yeah, I mean, I would entertain a motion if somebody's got a little direction on how we wanna go with backpacks, if we wanna separate the middle school out from the high school. Wanna just do a blanket policy.
John's saying the same thing. They're recommending go back.
Correct. I would lean to agree at the middle school, maybe not so much at the high school.
Is there a way to get more than 3 minutes? Like high school is 5 minutes, it seems like
Right.
3 minutes
That's true.
is. If you only leave the classroom so many times a week to go to the bathroom and you only have 3 minutes and you have to go get something all the time out of your, not all the time, you know what I'm saying? You have to go to your locker, you've already.
I know.
3 minutes isn't very long.
I know my daughter went through high school and never opened her locker, so.
So that's interesting, we all jacked in here. So they had their backpack.
Mhm.
Yeah, so,
Granted, that backpack about flipped her over half the days, but.
yeah.
So I don't know if that was a good alternative, but
Right,
that's
I
what
don't
she
think
chose.
it's worth, it's late in the game and try it, you can always change it. But,
I would entertain a motion if we need to give a little bit of direction on this, whether we wanna leave it alone and then adjust as needed down the road, or we don't wanna leave it wide open, where they don't have direction.
For now.
What are you saying?
That's true. If we don't have a motion or anything on it, then it stays as is, as written. Right.
Okay, so I make a motion to not allow backpacks at the middle school. What is that?
Got a motion?
During the day.
During,
Is that right?
I don't,
During the
during
day.
school
But,
hours.
or you could just say reverse backpack language back to
Okay.
last year's.
Do you
Okay,
want me to change that then? Let me see what
I don't know, I'm just
Oh.
offering a recommendation. You could just say reverse, backpack language to the changes that were made for this year. At whichever school you choose.
ditto that.
You can just make an emotion.
Okay, so I make a motion to reverse the language for the secondary school handbook for middle school for backpacks. Is that right?
I think we all understand what
Okay,
the motion is, right?
yeah, I just want the
That's
opposite of
key.
what the thing said, but.
Okay, got a motion,
I'll second.
got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Same. Uh-oh. Let's do a roll call vote, cause I didn't get the numbers on that.
Okay. Chris Buckman,
No.
Brandon Earl,
No.
Andrea Kreifels,
Yes.
Jason Newberry,
Yes,
Deanna Garver,
Yes.
Tom Henning,
Yes.
Pat Zika,
No,
4-3.
thank you, everybody. So does everybody understand where we're at on that?
That was middle school only, is what I.
Middle school only?
Yep.
Revert the language back to the way it was.
Got it.
Okay, moving on. Eisenhower fencing.
Yes,
can you back up 1 second?
yes,
Do we have a middle school handbook and a high school handbook?
We did.
Okay, I knew I thought, but it's called secondary school handbook. So is that what the motion says?
No, she said
No.
middle school.
She said middle school.
Okay,
That was
that's
just
exactly
the
why I read
the
secondary
discussion.
school handbook, because I thought we had two.
it was in both handbooks, so that's why I put that as the discussion item.
Ready to move on to Eisenhower fencing?
Yes, okay. Been working on fencing projects over the years. As you've seen, we did the track and the football field. We just finished putting some security fences up at Kennedy the last couple summers. And so wanting to move on to Eisenhower. Eisenhower's fencing is, it is not, the grounds are not completely fenced in. And they are also, the fencing that is there is also aging. And so wanting to make that a project, capital outlay project. And so got bids on that for you to look at and discuss.
When is this project, if it was approved, when would it be a summer project?
So, well, since it's an outdoor project, as long as it didn't interfere with students' recess, they could do it whenever, if they wanted to get some things. Yeah. As long as it was stayed away from students and there wasn't any danger or safety issues, then we can do it whenever, since it's an outdoor project. But we would work with, obviously, Mrs. Elder. I know that the bus lineup would also be a situation with Eisenhower with where the fencing project would be, so we would just have to work with them to make sure that the construction is not happening in an inappropriate time.
Any other thoughts or discussion on that?
I believe the bids were in there, and then also an aerial view to kind of give you an idea of where that's at with the tennis courts there in the corner and.
That's our
that
biggest,
would wrap
this would be our biggest fencing project, correct? Was this
I believe so.
Yeah.
the most linear footage of fence that we put in?
Probably, yeah, it is big. But there is fencing out there by the roads and by the alley, but it does not go all the way down, and then it does not come back and connect to the building on either side, so it's not completely fenced in currently. The fencing that is there is aged.
Is Kennedy fenced in completely?
It is, yes.
So across the back by the
Yep.
tree line?
Yep, and the parking lot, yep, that all got done.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not fenced
down
at
by
the
the tree
trees.
lines.
The
Oh,
trees,
no, the tree line, no, I'm sorry.
the
back
trees
tree line
kinda act
by-
as
by
the
the-
fence.
But by the, none of the tree line?
None of the tree line, on those two
I mean, I know
sides.
kids, I myself, I think at the time, but
Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood.
preschool kids that run away through those trees.
The front is fenced all by the garden.
Yeah.
And then all the way out to Crusader Drive on the other side now. But yeah, the two tree lines are not.
Preschool has their own
Yeah,
playground that's fenced separately, right? At Kennedy.
Yeah, is that,
Yeah, that got
it's a
taken
pretty,
out.
yeah, that's.
it got taken out.
Yeah.
Oh, then we just put up the main fence, that's right, on the parking lot.
Yeah, there's no fence.
So it used to be individually fenced though before we had that fence there. Cause they used to be in that pod and it came out the back door into that fenced area.
I'll make a motion to approve the Eisenhower fence project going with Ready Fence in the amount of $35,521.16.
Does sorry,
No, you can,
You're fine.
you can still discuss.
does the Eisenhower fence need to be that big?
That big as in the property?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend it just to fence in that entire property. Kelly used to be a principal there, so you could talk to
They
that.
use that full playground, they really do.
So now I would second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
No.
Only thing I'd say is contact the city and get a fence permit, Kelly.
Yeah, they forgot to do that.
Inside joke there. Okay, moving on. Window blinds.
Yes, so the windows that were purchased with ESSER funds, the project from last year at both Washington and Lincoln that have splashed up those buildings, they look really good. Are letting a lot of light in as they should, and so the staff are wanting to be able to adjust that depending on what project they're working on. Obviously, if they're using their interactive projectors, need to make it darker and then back and forth, just like everybody would at their homes. And so contacted some blinds companies and got some different blind bids out there for discussion. And Kelly, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I kinda would. If you look at the bids on there, Shamhorn is the only company that physically came and did the measuring. And the other two companies there went off of some recommendations, and so they're cut differently, and I would feel most comfortable with that first bid that you're seeing in your packet.
With Shamahorn, you mean?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or discussion on that?
Just blown away by that third quote.
I
Like,
know,
how do you
isn't that
get
crazy?
2.5 times?
Mhm.
Again, if we approve this, would this be done? We obviously, it's probably I'm sure it's needed.
The way that both Lincoln and Washington staff, when those windows were being put in, it was a pretty smooth operation, and I could let Chris talk about that from her end of things, and
Yeah.
so I wouldn't see this being much different of a project.
We just kind of moved around. If they were working in one second grade room, then that day the librarian made herself mobile and she went around and that class met in the library for that period of time. So I think we really do need them. Like for an example, in our gym, especially if we try to have a presenter or something in there, it's really hard to see because of the light coming in. It's hard to see what you're projecting. And like my student of the month ceremonies, they're hard to visualize too because we make a little video. It just make it a lot handier.
Well, it'll keep it cool in the summertime too. While the sun's
Yeah.
coming through.
Kelly, did they indicate how long it would take them once on site?
The Shammerhorn is highly recommended in the Wichita area, so they come in and they can probably knock it out, but it would definitely not be anything like when the windows were being installed. They could probably run the classroom pretty quick.
Did we ever do anything about the blinds in the offices at the high school?
Yeah, those were installed.
Those what?
Those were installed.
So there are thermal blinds there?
So which if we went with Shamrock, which of the two options? So they're the only one that gave 2 options.
I think
The front facing and
I think the other one is
Header.
just the cover up front, which I don't think would necessarily be needed for an extra, what was it, 3,000 or something?
Yeah. I would say we probably,
I assume that's for aesthetics.
yeah.
Right.
I would think this is probably needed extremely quick. I don't know that we really thought about when we got rid of the block, how much light we'd be letting into the school.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's-
had
it's
no idea.
wonderful, yeah. It's wonderful, but it's also even like on the weekends, if the teachers wanna pull them down for
Yep.
security reasons, so
Yep.
people aren't peeking in there as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the blinds with going with Shamrock just based off the fact that they actually are the only company that did the real measurements. Don't know if I trust someone that didn't actually come out and measure. You know, they are cheaper. We have to justify why we are not taking the lower bid. So I'll make a motion that we approve the Shamrock blind contract in the amount of $26,166.44.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
No.
Okay. We're moving on. June policy updates.
Okay, so policy committee, finished work on these updates about a month ago, and so we have those out to you. Thank you to Deanna and Andrea for working on those with us. And then also have a policy in there on random breathalyzers at prom that is connected to some of our high school language in our handbook. And so that would be board policy that connects to the handbook to try to shore all that up. And so that is all up for discussion this evening out of committee.
Well, I really haven't had time since we just got it to go through the whole thing and take time to even look at it.
Yeah, and it's
Some of
just
it I have.
discussion.
Okay, so I just,
Yeah, just discussion tonight.
if it's been done for a month, we could have had it sooner too.
Now, you do get an email from KASB with them, back when they were released in June. KASB sent them directly to me.
Well, that's why we try to do things in discussion in case
Yep.
people aren't comfortable moving forward. So I understand what Pat's saying. It is a lot to come through.
It was brought to my attention that we approved, I think, a handbook that referenced policy JCDAB that didn't even exist at the time. And then on the website, it's fixed, so we approved something that didn't even exist. That was referenced in the handbook, so, I just certainly would like to have more time to make sure that what we're approving exists.
It's not a time crunch on that right now, is it?
Nope.
So, yep, that's
Just goes
fine.
into policy, then you guys are done with it.
I do have a question about this, so like on the JCABDA breathalyzer use, is that referencing the prom part? Like what, if I go to the, without going in and looking, is that the prom part?
That was the intention, yeah,
Okay.
to connect those two.
Okay, so we've never really been talked to about how the whole breathalyzer situation works at the school, like at prom. So who funds that? Is it something that we can do for all the students? Cause I mean, other schools, it's not random. It's to walk into prom, everyone gets a breathalyzer. And there is no mint system or anything. It's just that's how you get into prom. And if you know, I don't, without knowing how the actual funding of the breathalyzer works and where all this is coming from, could we just do all the students and then there is no exclusion, there is no question?
If the board wants us to do that, we can move to that system.
Why can't we do everyone, I'm not saying we shouldn't, I'm saying why can't we do that, but when we randomly drug test at school, it can only be kids that are in CASHA, am I right, CASHA activities?
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, you know, we can't just pick Johnny who's not in any club at all and test them. It seems contradicting.
Well, the board could bring that policy back up, it was originally written for that, that was
Which one?
the drug testing policy. It specifically mentions activities and athletics, so we would have to go back through and redo that if you. if
So
the board
we
is
aren't the
wanting
one,
to
I
do
mean, we're the ones that said it could only be CASHA people?
It would have gone through the board a long time ago.
I was gonna say, that was
Yeah, that-
before
yeah.
me, for sure.
Probably still in school.
That was in place before I ever got to the high school, I don't know how long ago it was,
So then
but if we need changes to that.
I think we need to look at that because it says we can only drug test students that are involved in activities. And
Yep.
I'm not trying to, you know, there's other people that,
I can take that to a committee and have them look
Yeah,
at it
if we
and bring it
can.
in.
or we can all just decide ourselves as a group. We just,
However you guys wanna do it. It comes here either way, so.
Right. We make the final decision on it anyways.
I have two meetings. So that's not from, you won't find that in the board policy book,
It is in the high school handbook,
just the high school handbook.
I believe so, yes.
they got approved last month.
That's really interesting. Somebody singled that group out.
It should be in the board policy too. The random drug testing, I think it is.
But does it say just CASHA? I mean, does it
I
say?
believe so,
Okay.
yes.
Because I can't imagine that a board would say, let's just drug test students that are involved, you know?
I'd have to double check.
Yeah,
but
I haven't run across that either, and
I believe it's a board policy as well.
yeah, because I can't
That's
imagine
what's
7 people
referenced.
sitting here saying, let's just drug test students involved in activities,
And they may have been tackling some at the time, I don't know,
so,
but yeah, that's what it says.
yeah.
But doesn't,
I
Yeah.
just read it
I mean,
to make
that's
sure that our
different than
handbook and
breathalyzer.
But we don't have to go
our
on.
handbook and
Yes.
the district's
Yes.
handbook are
That's
actually the
that's an
same.
actual year.
I've
Okay.
compared them.
But just because it's a board policy doesn't mean,
wouldn't the athletes be part of CASHA anyway? I mean,
They are.
they said, but I'm saying CASHA mandated, not
oh, that might be
Regulated.
too, yeah, that might be too.
CASHA regulated versus.
Mrs. Gill
I
said it is in
don't
the board
understand what he's
policy.
saying.
That is,
The testing of the students is,
Yeah.
it's just, I looked them up and it said that.
does it
No,
say,
my point was, I'm assuming that the drug testing would actually it's their regulations, not so much ours, right?
No,
It's
Keisha
board
does
policy.
not
I think
regulate
that was
it at
local,
all.
yeah.
Okay.
That was a
That's-
local decision.
That's all, yeah, local.
Gotcha.
Well, it's KASB's decision, cause she just said it's in the board handbook, the policy book.
It may have been recommended, but then the board, I mean.
Right, so we
it's-
can, and that's probably why we have it, cause we lost, I mean, there's things, because we just approved thinking about it in the past, so. I just do leave it at that.
Yep, I agree. Nothing that we really need to vote on tonight, but definitely time to think about it before next meeting.
And I will pull in the drug testing policy.
Yeah.
Have the board look at that as well.
That'd be great.
Got it?
Okay, moving on to our first action item.
And this is an action just because it moved there and the board has been talking about it and we keep asking, we keep bringing back information for you. And so really it's whenever the board's comfortable. The whole purpose is just to have an idea of which field surface would go into the state sellers in the future. So the two pieces of information that were requested at the last board meeting was the estimated cost of redoing the football field to a new level irrigated grass surface, obviously without the famous crown. And then also it was requested the cost estimate of turf maintenance plan. Those are the two things that were asked to come back for further discussion, and so both of those are there. DCS put information out to bring that back to you, those numbers on kind of what an estimate of that would be. And so that is out there for discussion.
That scope book was a lot cheaper than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, the maintenance plan I thought was cheaper than the year,
Yeah.
was cheaper too.
Where, I mean, I know this is a company, but where'd they get all their figures?
I assume they go out to, bid for things.
We don't ever have to see those,
Get an
we don't,
idea.
we just
We
always
can ask
take.
for them, it was just asked for an estimate, not bids,
Yeah,
so,
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
but we can bring you whatever you need.
because, and I don't care which way we go, but,
It's whatever information you need to feel like you have a informed.
well, also includes engineering and replacing I'd like to know what engineering, what are they talking about? For that that amount of money. These just seem extremely high to me. People
On
talk to-
which one, Pat? Which one are you
The-
talking about?
Well, actually,
On
The
the base
grass.
proposal,
yeah,
where it says also included is engineering, so I think she's asking for more of a detailed, I know it's just an estimate,
That's-
but where's this money? What-
Specifics of the project,
Yeah, I mean, how much is the sod, how much is
broken out.
You know,
That number.
just
I'm looking at the
yeah,
wrong one.
just a little bit more detailed on it, instead of just, it's gonna be $186.
This is just taking the crown off.
And the dirt and resodding it
And
all
the
that.
new irrigation
Yeah.
system.
Yeah, separate it out,
Right.
okay,
I thought I was looking at the,
I can do that,
And they're estimating that it's gonna be $7,500 per year for artificial turf
yes, what, for the maintenance.
Maintenance.
maintenance,
And then your artificial turf estimate that they gave you originally is.
is 1.4. On that water for 9th Street, is
Yeah.
that for just the football field, or is that for the baseball field? I think we asked that before, but we weren't,
I'm
Sure.
not sure. I'll have to call the city. 'Cause
can
I'm
you
not-
call the city and maybe?
Yeah, that's a lot of money
Jason,
for
is that
either
broken
or.
out there at 9th Street or?
So there's a meter there south of the visitors stands.
But is it all
I'm
combined?
not sure. I would have to double check that. I would have to double check that.
I
There's
thought
another
that's-
meter.
does that count the baseball field?
I thought that's what it said was includes all of 9th Street. So I took that as meaning baseball
I
and
don't think it's
football.
baseball and
Okay.
football. I think it's just football. Cause there's another meter over at the Stellar Park side for Hibbs.
Yeah, by the train. Is it by the train?
Yeah, there's one
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But that's for
By
the
train, isn't it?
stadium.
So is the
Yeah.
baseball field, the JV baseball field? That's Ninth Street too.
No, I wouldn't think that wouldn't come all the way from there, I wouldn't think.
I don't know, you said, I mean, Ninth Street, I think of both sides.
No, I'm just talking about the football field and his hoop.
Yeah.
I don't know about the other one. We can double check that though.
Yeah,
and find
if
out.
you can double check, that'd be cool.
I know they use a lot of water.
Yeah.
I do know that.
Okay. So,
A little bit more homework.
no, yeah, that's fine. What I have down is the 186 as mentioned, broken out project costs, how that looks for different parts of that project. And then city breakdown on the water bills at Ninth Street.
So it's 186,000 to get the football field with grass looking good.
And irrigation and the whole bit.
Yeah,
And taking the crown down, redoing
Yeah.
it all so that it's a, yeah.
which for the other would, 1,400,000 would easily take all this year.
So I think I've spoken enough at these meetings that everybody kind of knows that I was kind of in favor of going turf because we had Mr. Wilma sitting here saying that's kind of the direction we need to go. But with that number in front of us of 186,000, I think we need to sign the contract now because if they can do that work and then engineering for $186,000, that would really surprise me. That is cheap.
With irrigation.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was, it
It's,
almost, it almost makes me scared that if we decide we ditching the turf idea and go with this, then they're gonna come back with the real estimate
That
and
is really cheap.
Even if they do come back with a real estimate, I don't think we're ever gonna get anywhere close to $1,000,004 plus $7,500 a year plus
oh no,
replacing it every 10 years.
I agree with that.
So,
And I also agree, like, if we don't have 1,000,004, we don't even have 186, to be honest with you, but that's,
The surveys that we gave out lean towards grass.
Yeah.
So I think even if we vote right now to go turf, we need to fix the field. We have to put money into that field right now because we just need fixing. Maybe not, it needs some work at least.
but we're already looking at next year anyway, it's too late to start.
Yeah,
There's no way
of
we
course
can
it
start
is.
something this year,
But
I'm kind of agreeing with Jason that if they present a contract with that number, that sounds awful cheap.
Really cheap. Okay, so bringing it back again,
That's fine.
or
That's what we want.
That's,
I would make a motion that
there we go. Thank you.
I would make a motion that we determine that the football field at the Sellers Park will remain grass.
I'll second that motion,
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
a little bit of progress.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what we're trying to get at, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
so we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay,
Okay,
does
perfect.
that help?
Yes, that helps.
All right.
That is helpful. Thank you very much. The other thing I wanted to let you know, appreciate Pat and Brandon. We continue to meet with the city on locker room facilities. Those are progressing quickly. And so I'm thinking as of meeting last week, we have another meeting on this Thursday. I think by next board meeting, we will have something in front of you the way those meetings are going. That's just my guess right now. So appreciate their extra time on that committee. That committee's worked together very well. It's been great. That's just an update.
Cool. Okay, next action item is strategic plan and district goals.
Yes, we have had at least 3 meetings now to talk about, or part of it was to talk strategic plan and district goals, and so felt like we had a finalized set of goals and plan to put in place for us to work on for this next year. And so just looking for approval of those, so we can put those in place and.
I have a question about the goals, but I can't find it, and I was on the committee, so. I can't find the agree with that move. There we go.
Anybody else thoughts or thoughts? Get our computer to wake up.
The, district communication, I thought we, I guess what bothers me about the whole thing is that we don't have any, how we're gonna do it, you know? What's our,
It switched in the last meeting to essentially just better communication by the district is essentially the.
okay, but it was meant, just for the record, it was meant for better communication among administration staff and school board, more internally than, and externally. I think we've worked on, trying to get the communication between the public and the board and the district. We've worked on that, but it still needs more work, but also there seems to be a problem we thought with the system itself needs better communication. I don't know if that says that good enough, but. I don't know.
We just put down what we got out of the
Yeah, well,
discussion, so.
it's, I don't know, I don't like the way they're worded personally.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022-23 district goals and strategic plan.
2022.
So 23, 24, yeah, good grief, yeah.
We can go back here.
I'm looking right at it.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
I'm
those
just
opposed, same.
abstaining.
No.
Abstaining.
Okay, so we have one no and one abstain. 2 noes. Okay. Next item on discussion is building needs assessment and state assessment review.
Yes, last planning session, as part of the required legislative budgeting process, we went through the building needs assessments and state assessment review with the board and got that work to this point. And so we will be here in just a minute, and the next item I'll be requesting a special meeting to publish the budget. Darcy is working with our accountant on that right now. And so we'll be presenting that to you for publication later this month. And so as part of that process, we are do those assessments and reviews prior to.
The 24 building needs assessment, state assessment review.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Okay, thank you. And now the special meeting and budget publication.
Yes, so heading into budget season, so we need a special meeting to publish the budget so that it can be out there for 10 days prior to our next board meeting, which is September 11th, in which we would actually have our R&R hearing and our budget hearing and get that approved for the year. And so looking for should be a quick meeting unless another item comes up on the 28th possibly. That's kind of been our normal mid-month meeting time, but if that doesn't work for people, then we can figure something else out. But that should be a fairly quick meeting. Randy Ford, our accountant, will be available by phone to discuss that with the board that evening and make sure that you are good with what you are publishing in the paper that evening. So is the 28th possible for everybody for a quick meeting?
I think so. We don't have to vote on that, right? We just.
No, I just know, that's
Yes,
just.
yes.
Good.
Okay. So we'll do that at 6 o'clock that night. And that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next thing is administrative reports.
Does have anything you wanna?
Did you see our numbers for Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 70 that we have to supervise on our own with,
Don't have them come to school.
so we have 70 kids that are first and second hour. That's our highest enrollment. And for our board recommendation, we have to supervise 70 of them in the library. We have a library aide during that hour. Those 2 hours, Riley's first, and we have a librarian, so that becomes a bit of an issue. And so hoping for some direction there from the board.
I don't know. I don't know, I'd say it's a problem you asked for. Having to keep college kids contained in a room while they're not in class. So I don't think they should, I personally don't think they should have to be there in the first place, so I don't have any suggestions. That was a problem we saw happening. We said could possibly be a problem, so.
So these are kids that are taking like a Monday, Wednesday class or?
There's 70 enrolled. It could be Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, depending on what they take.
But the alternate days when you have to.
Friday, there's no class. You're looking at 70 first and second hour on Friday. And so that's logistical nightmare for us. If our enrollment was 22, that's fine, but
Well, true, but we don't wanna discourage the
No.
the
I
higher
don't want to discourage
education.
enrollment.
Right.
Well, like, I mean, similar to the conversation earlier, that last year they were not, the parents could opt to keep their kids, like, they didn't have to come. And it worked, we had no issues. And the students that needed extra help, or they needed a quiet place to work, they were always allowed in our building. They worked in the commons. Some of them actually went to the library to work or went to another teacher, but we never kept them out. But the kids, I mean, these kids are vetted by Cali. They have to apply, and Cali accepts them based on their accolades and their attendance and their grades. In the same way, their parents are paying to put them in these classes. So again, last year it worked. It wasn't mandatory for them to come. We did not count them absent if they were gone or have any negative repercussions. But the building was always open. So there were students that used the commons area as a quiet place, or the library as a common place, if they needed to have that to work or needed internet. But it wasn't mandatory. And 71 kids, mandatory, it's going to be, we're gonna have attendance issues, behavior issues.
It's gonna be chaos.
It'll be chaos.
Isn't this what you wanted though?
Yeah,
No,
that's what JJ wanted.
no.
I think.
No, I said they weren't
Well,
part of
brought
it
up-
at that
no,
time, they're
but
not our
he's-
students, and it was recommended
Well, that's
that
true.
we have.
And that- I read
So,
that discussion.
my wording wasn't great.
Okay, Pat, I'll speak to you.
No, I
So,
don't want.
no, my issue was when this whole thing got
We're
brought up.
accountable for them.
Yes, we are accountable for them. None of this, what Ms. Gill just said, was ever brought up to us. None of it. We were never told that the parents opted out these kids, that said, oh, it's okay that they're staying home, I know where they are. None of that was brought to us. So we had we made a decision on what we had.
I understand
And
that.
so,
I'm just telling you,
we-
that I wasn't at the board meeting
I know,
in June and July when it was decided.
I understand that, and that decision was made based on the information that we had received. So, when we're told these kids are not being held accountable, we don't know where they are. They are technically high school students first, then college students. We do need to know where they are. We all agreed upon that. So, to say now we have 71 kids enrolled and we don't know what to do with them, what would you be doing with them if they were not in Cali? I mean,
They'd be
you
in
knew
a
this was gonna
class.
They
happen.
would be in a classroom.
We didn't create the schedule. We were told you guys wanted it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Tuesday, Thursday. This was your guys' schedule that you picked for your comp and your algebra.
That's what we worked with,
Yes,
with
so
Callie on.
so
Right.
we made this decision on the information we were given. And so if it's a problem, okay, but we did not know about this problem until just now.
I see what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. By opted out, you don't mean parents sign something that say, I opt my child out.
Well, that's what she just said.
They don't sign anything.
I
They just-
made contact with over 20 parents
Okay.
last year.
Yeah.
The parents didn't believe their kid that they didn't have to come, whatever they call.
Yeah.
But the kids were told, you don't have to come here. If your
Okay.
parents do not care if you're
Right.
here, your parents can allow you to stay
I
home.
just, yeah. I
That's
just
the
wanted to know
parent
they don't
decision.
Sign something right.
But we can only make decisions on information
Yeah.
that we have. No,
That's why I said
I
I
don't
thought
know-
it came from here.
I don't know when the actual enrollment of Cali was counted. Was it just today that you guys found out that there were 71 students and we're just finding out today that it's a
Friday.
problem?
Friday is when I found out, when the counselors pulled the information and gave it to me.
Okay,
That's when
well,
I found out, so
so
that's why I put it in my board report.
well, we're just shocked by it as you are. We just got it. So,
I do have one thing, though, you just said that these kids are vetted and they're, they have all of these accolades and things. But if we put them all in a room together, they're gonna be bad.
70 of them.
I mean,
70 of them? Yeah, and they don't have work to do?
why wouldn't they have work to do?
They don't have,
The first,
No,
do not
we got a
have-
problem with the week. Cali starts a week later, so the first week they will only have,
Cali started today.
I thought it was, did I read that backwards then?
Maybe, I was told it was today. Is it next Monday?
I thought it was, I thought we're starting and then Cali starts a week later, so we got 70 kids that won't have anything to do.
Oh, I didn't, I
I'll-
took it
I'll
as
read
it's the
that
whole
again.
I think
year.
they start today. I think they started today.
Okay,
So if I put it
I
in there,
read it
then
like
it was
you-
the
oh, you
21st.
did, yeah,
I was
you
wrong.
did say it starts on the
Yeah,
21st,
so I asked Kelly about it today.
Yeah.
So
yeah, your
she
board
wasn't available when
report.
I was writing my board
Okay,
report.
so I did read
I
that
think
right,
some of these
so.
questions were asked or brought up about, where would they go? And I'm kind of like Deanna, I felt like you wanted this, JJ, that last fall, that's what you wanted, was the kids to be in school, but it didn't work because they weren't used to it. And so this year, is that not what you
And
wanted?
so
Did
when
you
I
not
spoke-
want the kids at school?
The problem we run into is we run into like I explained before, the people who check attendance and their grades is our counselors. They have registrar access, they check those. And where I've been before, and I did say it, and I shouldn't have worded it that way, but they're not our students at that time. And they weren't welcome on campus at that time, where I was before. And I did say that out loud, they are our students. But they're responsible for Cali on the days they have class. And so we don't have the means to supervise them when there's 70 of them and they're not on class. We don't have a room to put them all in where they can do that. So it was not my wish to do that, but obviously I left you with that feeling.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
Yeah,
thought
I
you wanted.
thought so too, and I remember your conversation, about they were our students, so that's, and then I remember my conversation, I remember what I added, but which were the concerns about where are they gonna go, who's gonna watch them, and yours was responsible for them. But I did think they came from JJ, so I apologize if I think the communication must have been just, we were reading each other different at the time or something.
Yeah, I would never have brought any of that up if I didn't get that, the feeling that he wanted us to keep the kids in school.
So, next steps. I mean, obviously,
I'll figure it out.
that's not sustainable.
Do we think they need to be in school? I mean, they need to be,
Or if the parents are cool with them being
Yeah.
home or working at McDonald's, because they're, of course,
Right.
apparently they're not doing work. So whatever they're doing, if the parents are fine with it and they don't have to call in, I think it's great. Let them stay home.
we just go, why can't we just go like it was as it's been, if it's working, like it has been the
You have
last
to
few
remember,
years.
these kids that are taking these college classes, they have good grades. For the most part, they are responsible kids. If you put 70 of them in that commons area, it is gonna be complete chaos. I don't care if you're at the top of the line, the
I
bottom
know,
line, there's nothing to get done there anyway, so.
and I think it must have been a misunderstanding.
I
that
think
you
every
wanted
one of
to
us
be a-
sitting here probably
you know, and so it could be
misunderstood.
fixed.
Yeah,
It can be fixed easily by just, it was a misunderstanding, let's just fix it and go back to the way you guys have handled it before, if that's okay with you guys, in my opinion.
Does that work?
Can you vote
Good
on it?
question.
It's part of the handbook, so we vote. Do you
Yeah.
want us to make
Right.
like an opt-out sheet that the parents sign? Or
No,
can it
JJ
just,
say no. He doesn't want to opt out sheet.
But the thing is if you don't have a parent's consent, they're opting out, how are you gonna know they're not?
Well, they're good kids, why would they just tell their
I
parents?
know, I mean,
I think that opens up the bag of worms though.
Yeah.
We need something to write and say their parents are okay with it.
we
I'd
haven't in
agree
the
with
past.
that. I'd agree with that.
That can't be that difficult to do.
parents are gonna know.
Ms. Gill,
Did you do that last year? Did you have an
No.
opt-out letter last year? Or did
I mean,
you just
there's
talk
no
to the
opt-out
parents?
letter. I talked to
She
the
had
parents
22.
Yeah.
that were,
But did you contact the parents though?
the parents, yes, I talked to
Okay.
at
then
least 20-some parents.
Do,
all
probably
of
do
them?
that, get the consent of the parents, so at least the parents and the kids and you guys are all on the same page of where that kid should be.
The only problem is we're asking her to contact 70
70-some people.
I'd
Instead of-
send an opt-out letter.
instead
Yeah.
of
So-
20.
Yeah,
If you
you
can
get
send
one
an
back for every
opt-out letter,
person.
that would be good.
Yeah, just mail something out to get it.
JJ doesn't, I'd like to, you don't like the idea of the opt-out letter?
I just am frustrated by the whole situation, frankly, because I don't feel like that's where I left it. But maybe I didn't communicate that correctly, so, no, that's fine. I feel like when their parents sign them up for school and they sign the information to get into school, and then they get their schedules, they know when they are. So we can definitely construct a letter and have it mailed out, and then send a Crusader alert out so that they all know to be expecting it. We can take care of that. So is it in the handbook? Do we need to make a motion?
It is in the handbook that they are required to come.
I make a motion that we allow the students who are participating in the college classes to not have to be on campus during those hours. Does that sound right? I mean, that doesn't sound right, but I don't know how else to say it.
That could include the college classes that they're taking inside the school, wouldn't it? I mean, if you could read that, you could read it like that.
I would make a motion that we amend the handbook to allow students that are attending college classes at Cowley on campus not to be required to attend high school on days they do not have college.
During that. During that period.
During that class
Right,
period.
right.
Yeah, otherwise we're just out the whole day. Okay, got a motion.
I'll second.
Does everybody understand kind of where we're at there?
Oh, provided, can I amend it?
But I think it actually,
That's been
Yeah.
seconded.
it's been seconded,
Since you
so
got a second, you can't amend.
I,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a motion and a
we can't
second.
discuss it after that, I think,
It can still be discussed,
Yeah.
but can't be changed.
but we can
Vote.
vote no on it, or
We could.
if we didn't like the wording of it,
We're
we
so
could
picky about
allow.
this, but we don't care about some of the other things. For any reason.
We got a motion and a second, so all those in favor say aye.
I
Aye. Uh-oh.
Now we got a problem.
Still voice vote. Roll call vote, sorry.
Alright, Chris Buckman,
Yes.
Brandon Earl,
Yes.
Andrea Kreifels,
Yes.
Jason Newberry,
Yes.
Deanna Garver,
No,
Tom Henning,
Yes.
Pat Zika.
yes.
I was just gonna add, if a parent adds,
This is,
if a parent signs an opt-out.
Yeah. I think that was implied.
I will make a motion that we require the parents to sign an opt-out letter, in support of the last motion that was voted on. I don't know how to word that, but
Okay, got a motion? Need a second, Bill.
Second.
Okay, got a second. All those in favor say aye.
I,
All those opposed?
No.
Okay. Back to administrative reports. Anything else?
Who are we on? High school steward.
I
It's
think it's
just
just whoever wants
administrative,
to.
it's for them to talk
Okay.
to us.
It's for them to tell us
Well,
stuff.
since we made the
Next one's sports
changes,
comments.
I have a problem with the high school handbook, with all the information that you have to have if you drive a car. It seems like a lot of information. I mean, we made changes already today that we said, yes, okay, we made a big change with book bags, so we can make a change. If, and I'm just sharing my opinion, you have to know your insurance number. If I ever wreck in the parking lot with you, you're not gonna call my insurance people. You know, that's between me and the person I hit, which would happen probably. I just think we have a lot of information out there on the record that anybody can get to, that, and I talk to insurance people, obviously, they don't see why the high school would need to have your insurance information. I mean, your tag number maybe, but you might drive a different car the next day, or you might get a new car, or, I mean.
Like that, this, out of respect to the administrators, this is an administrators report section.
I know, so
So,
I'm asking
this sounds like
JJ if he
board
thinks it's
comments to me.
possible. No,
Okay.
it's.
This is for them to tell us stuff, not us to,
No,
The
it's
next,
not.
the next one's for us to tell them.
okay. I guess we need to
Next one's
reword
board
this on
comments.
the agenda from now on.
Does that make sense?
No, because we don't.
We do board comments next.
Some of the
Okay.
administrators might just wanna head out so they can enjoy their evening instead of,
Well, that's the thing, if they head out, I'm not, after administrative reports, I'm not gonna get a chance to ask them.
It's the next thing on the agenda.
I know, he just said they might wanna leave, I didn't say that, didn't you?
Okay.
I'm just saying,
I would ask that we ask if there's any administrators that like to speak on
Okay.
administrative reports first, and then we'll go into board member
okay,
comments.
nobody wanted to,
You don't know that, you just started talking.
silent.
Is there any administrators that need?
We're ready to go. We're excited.
All right,
So we're
No.
there you go,
we're
Bob.
ready for a good year.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay,
Ditto.
all right, all
I
right.
second that motion.
We're all in favor.
Aye.
There you go. Thanks, Chris. Okay, no more administrative reports. Moving on to board comments.
Okay. Well, that was one of my comments. Do we really need all that information on if you drive a car to school?
I would wanna know that if a student drove a car through the side of the building, that they had insurance on that vehicle.
If I park at a basketball game, you don't know if I drive through that you're not.
I don't see where it hurts anything.
Okay, I just wanted that for the record. Other things, my board comments are, we're sending a letter home to, Lincoln and Kennedy students, I believe, to, students that don't have a certified teacher. Because that's what Title I has to do that. I was thinking it would be, a good idea to send it to all parents that don't have a teacher that's certified, just because, I mean, it seems, they're saying it's important enough for Title I school to send that letter home. So Lincoln and Kennedy students are gonna get that, and the other schools won't, but yeah, there's questions out there, is my kid, my kid's teacher a teacher, is what's, where they at in this process? And I just think, and I know it'll be a lot of work, but if we have to send it to Title I schools, it seems that, to me, it's important enough to send it to everyone.
I think I don't know where we're at in the process, but I think we were going to ask Russ to help us create a letter so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I
and
think
we're
we
all
saw a
saying the
copy of
same thing.
somebody's letter, I can't remember.
Okay, and then, I mean, once that gets created, I don't think,
You think it'd be a problem to? I think we saw a copy of our letter, didn't we? Yeah, I mean, I liked it, it was a good letter, I'm not sure, I apologize, I don't remember who wrote it, but, I just think, it's important that all students, all parents know Title I, what makes them different? Why are we singling Title I schools out?
I agree with you, Pat. I think all students that don't have a certified teacher should.
And I'm not, I'm not putting that, in no way am I saying that they're not good teachers, they're not qualified people. I mean, there's, I'm not saying that at all, so.
I see good things and I see bad things. I see good things because, as a parent, I feel like it's my right to know if my kid's not being taught by a certified teacher. Bad things, I see a parent being very upset that their student isn't being taught by a certified teacher and demanding a certified teacher that we don't have.
But you'll have the same problem with,
But the letter will be going out to certain students anyway, so the letter will be out there. So,
Is there something on the administrative side that we don't see that would make that a negative?
It's a Title I requirement that they
Well-
sent out this year, and so we're just following suit. So if the board wants that at all schools instead of just the title schools, then we can do that.
But is there a negative to that from the administrative side?
I would say it's similar to what Andrea said, but we're gonna try to help our parents no matter what, so.
Right, I get that.
So we will adjust and work with, and in my years in education, I've seen amazing certified and amazing uncertified people, so it's just that we have quite a few people because of the teacher shortage that are in process. They're in some sort of program that they're headed towards. There's lots of programs right now for teachers or good people to become teachers, and so the state has made it very accessible to do that through different programs. And so a lot of them are in those programs and they're certified, whether it be a sub license or they are certified in something, but they are headed in that direction. So this comes up because of the title requirement. And so
I don't recall the letter, but I think if you send something out, I think you need to put that, but you just said in there so they understand it's not just Wellington and this issue statewide. It'll take some of the lead off the
I
bat.
think it does say that, but I can't.
and title's federal money, so that's where that's coming from.
So I would make a motion that we send a letter to all students that have teachers that are not currently certified, explaining the situation at all schools.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.
Aye.
Board comment. Still on board comment.
I just wish you guys the best of luck and have a great start of the school year, and hopefully we'll get over this bumpy road.
I'm glad school starting back up with those kids back in there. I'd like my kids to be out of the house.
Yeah, it's exciting to see a new year kicking off and see what everybody's got in store for us this year, so I'm sure it'll be another banner year, so.
I wish you guys a good first day, and I had a question for the elementary. I wish there was more principals. What is your protocol for the first day of school? Like, are the parents allowed to walk in the students on the first day? Cause it's kind of like every school has their own rules, so I didn't know.
At Lincoln, they can, yes,
They
the
can.
first day.
But not all schools are like that. It's
As
just,
far as I know, I don't know any different than that, but I need to know different if that comes up. But I know that I talked to Kennedy and then obviously
I know during,
set up there.
obviously during COVID, we didn't, and that upset some parents at the time because they couldn't, but beyond that, they're allowed to walk
okay,
in our building if they wish.
good to know.
I don't have anything.
I attended a convocation today, was wonderful, great speaker.
Thank you.
And I was happy to see a lot of the staff there. It's great. Looked like a lot of good fellowship between everybody, so I wish everybody has a happy year.
Thank you.
Okay, if I have questions about Paris, do I have to ask it in an executive session or
Are you talking about specific?
not a person necessarily,
No.
no?
I mean, as long as it's not anything personal.
No, I've just had, and I wanted this before, but it was brought to my attention too, but I've read it several times. What's a hard to fill position when we're looking for a para?
Well,
What qualifies as a hard to fill position?
so it depends on the district needs. So a lot of times, our high school, we for years, it's been difficult to fill high school positions.
So high
and then
school
also
positions in the special needs classrooms that are,
Yes,
do we still have that
yes.
downstairs or
We
a high
have-
functioning or a really low functioning
Yes,
classroom?
yes.
Okay.
Areas where the para may have to assist with toileting or some things
Right.
that may go into an IEP that is connected to the student, so it's basically determined by the administration.
So
So
just because I have 3 positions to fill and I can't find anybody, can I say, hey, I'll give you X amount of money more and call you a hard to fill position, or?
we have not been going down that road, or we're not supposed to be anyway, so as far as that. As far as just the shortage on paras just in general for normal
Yeah, because
para
that's
jobs,
ongoing. And we're working on definition of substitutes, right, through negotiations. Are we, can I ask about pay?
As long as it's not specific people, yes.
Okay, are we paying the paras currently what we voted on?
There wasn't any voting on, there was, well, never mind. I can't
Well, we
talk
voted
about
on
that.
we voted on their handbook. I think
Oh,
the amounts in the
No,
handbook.
that was different based off of discussion, but that's probably something we can talk about in executive session,
Okay,
because that's where the conversation is.
I think the next needs to be an executive session too, so.
Okay, well,
And I do hope you have a good school year, obviously.
conveniently, the next thing on the agenda is executive session.
I'll make a motion that we go into an executive session, to discuss negotiation for 10 minutes to include Adam Hatfield and the administrative team. The regular meeting will resume at 8:36 PM.
Got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. What time we coming back?
8:36. Sorry, 6. Oh, I did it again.
Hey, did they include Adam Hatfield in that executive?
There is an old hotel next to it.
I didn't hear it.
That's-
Really?
The hotel would be next to it. Now we're making Russ wonder, way it goes.
I didn't hear it. I was waiting for it and I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I think so.
I could be wrong.
Down. Like we just Milton does, but I don't want my jaw to stick together
I
for
won't
the
say
rest of the
anything until
meeting.
we get in there.
There's a little new variety.
You're like, tell me about it.
Okay, we are back in open session. And
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss negotiations for 10 minutes to include Adam Hatfield and the administrative team. The regular meeting will resume at 8:47 p.m.
got a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Did I get one?
8:47.
Yeah, it's back at 8, right? It should be 8.
8:48. No, it's 8:47, right?
8:47.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, cause I pat a minute just to give us time to get. Okay, now we're back.
We're back in open session, and now we have another executive session.
I'll make a motion that we go into an executive session to discuss personnel, to include Adam Hatfield and the administrative team for 10 minutes. The regular meeting will resume at 8:58 PM.
A second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
So I guess the raise did not
teacher.
Good
Supplementals.
Okay, we are back in open session. No action was taken. And moving on to the consent agenda, Russ.
All right, consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the July 10th meeting. Approve payroll and bills. Payroll, $212,565.30. Bills, $768,170.06. Personnel, approve the new hires. Hong Don, custodian, Lincoln. Andrew Stanfield, para, Eisenhower. Hasley Luann McGurk, math teacher, high school. Sarah Willis, sped teacher, high school. Bradley Sinnett, para at the middle school. Lorena Waldorf, para at Eisenhower. Brintasia Kramer, para Eisenhower. Ashley Jackson, para Lincoln. Hillary Murfeld, para Washington. Brooklyn Burden, para Eisenhower. Jessica Beebe, para at Kennedy. Kimberly Whitson, para at the Wellington Christian Academy. Jessica Kendall, para at Kennedy. Melody Reinhardt, speech para at Kennedy. Joe Newman, 8th grade assistant football coach at the middle school. Brendan Pauley, 7th grade assistant football coach at the middle school. Hannah Lewis, 7th grade head volleyball coach, middle school. Caitlin Francisco, 7th grade assistant volleyball coach to middle school. Kat Cranmer, JV volleyball coach at the high school. Sarah Showman, speech para Eisenhower. Kathy Nutter, para at the high school. And approved resignations. Carmine Karami Woods, para at Wellington Christian Academy. Heather Daniel, custodian at the high school. McKenna Jones, para at Washington. Brian Rossilian, speech para Eisenhower. Natasha Gurley, para at Eisenhower. And approved transfers or position changes. Dusty Irie, speech para to library aide at the high school. And finally, accept donation from local vendor for concrete work at Kennedy Elementary.
Okay,
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. And I believe with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Why did we accept it for WCA?
We are required to provide
We have a
IEP services at prep.
No question.